Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the football show with me, Mark, Kyle, and Imran. Hope you've had a great week. And welcome to the show where we discuss all things fantasy football and all things English Premier League. How you guys doing, man? You've been having a good week?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
You're doing great.
Yeah, man. How can I not be here
Yeah.
in Liverpool right now?
Well, well, you might be changing that shirt in a few weeks' time. Huh? I saw the new one. I saw the new one advertised on Facebook yesterday.
I kept it simple. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, well, you should be very happy. And
Yeah.
Kyle is back at home as well.
Back at home, but still depressed after the Everton loss. So it's very difficult to find hope at the moment as a Chelsea fan.
Well, it was one of your own, so you can't exactly blame anybody for that particular issue. It was Frank that did it to you. So, hey, that's great. But listen, if you're joining us across any of the channels today on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are, welcome to the football show, and we're going to jump right in because we can't wait to talk about what's been happening in our fantasy league, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and that's where we battle it out over the course of the season. And just like the real league, this too is starting to come to a head, fellas. Yeah.
Yep.
Top half. Well, look, Imran, clearly, this is really over to you, as I always say, because in reality, you're the man. Of the three of us, you're probably the only one who's going to do it.
Well, it's the chances are getting slimmer and slimmer as the weeks go by.
Really?
I say every week I'm slowly losing hope, and yeah, I think the two at the top are really in a scrap, and I think this is the first time in a few weeks there's been a bit of a distance between Wayne and Paul. And
yes,
I
indeed.
Once we see the teams, we'll see the reason for that. But yeah, I think he's got a healthy lead, 22-point lead right now, and I think that's the most it's been in a while. And I think if he carries on the way he's going for the rest of the season, I think it should be his to lose.
Well, I have said I am still backing Paul because I think that he tends to pick the right players at the right time, and it does seem as though he lost a little bit of impetus last week, and we'll see why. But you gotta admire the two of them keeping it strong.
Yep, I think we mentioned last week how this might be the strongest title battle we'll ever had in the FPL, and it's been going for 10 years, so it is something to behold.
Absolutely. And I gotta also look down this table because I know a lot of times we tend to focus very, very much on who's leading the charge in terms of the top two. But I gotta give a shout out there to Christian because he's looking as though he's gonna try and get into that top four. He's been battling every week.
Yep.
At one point he was said, "I'm going to catch Imran."
I think it's interesting to compare this season to a lot of other seasons because I think from my history in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, by the time you get to like April, I think nobody really moves, and if they do, it's kind of just like they overtake, and then the next week they go straight back down. But like this season, everybody's overtaken everyone. Well, especially between like 4th and 8th, the top two have just left. And as I said in our last show, I don't think we've seen such a long 2-horse race. And then this battle for 4th has been going on for probably since like March, and there's no outright winner to be seen.
This is a proper battle for 4th as well, man. You know what I'm saying? They're both tied on 1977 at the moment. Christian got the most points last week, and he's going to be jumping up and down, no doubt. But only 2 to go.
It's going to be interesting because I think both this week and the next week are both double game weeks for a couple of teams.
Yes.
So especially at the top and in terms of that 4th place race, there's positions to get.
I think so. I got to give a shout out to one of the green upticks there in Didier Gallardo. Cause I've got a feeling that just a couple of weeks ago he was in and around me down in 18th and 19th. I don't know where this guy's got this form from actually.
He's had a few very, very strong weeks.
Yeah.
He does it when it counts. He does this every season. Just
does he?
He's like Son. He's the Son of our family. Just comes with this like incredible form in the middle of a season out of nowhere, and then disappears for the rest of the season.
Well, he's clearly doing it at the right time now. So we're going to have to wait and see what that actually looks like over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with how that part of the table is looking, and I want to see who's going to win this battle. But I'm holding fast to Paul because I think that he is the guy to beat. Well, you know, you don't really pay too much attention to this half. You know, I know you sit there and probably smile and laugh and think to yourself, "Is he still 18th or 19th?" Yes.
Saying that, but look from 18th to 22nd, they've all got more than 60 points this week, which is probably most in the rest of the league.
It means they're all running scared. They're all trying to make sure they don't finish in that bottom 3 at least. They're all running scared. I haven't seen Chesterfield Brown there in 21st for a while, but he seemed to be trying to mount some kind of charge later on in the season. John Myatt and Adam Bonham, you know, should really be ashamed of themselves, but I'm not going to call them out, even though I have. But, you know, I'll see how they get on with the remainder of the next 2 weeks. But I was quite pleased that we were able to, you know, show that we can, in the bottom half, that is, that we can still mount a charge and at least make it look as though we're here, we're fighting,
respectable.
It's not just a top half thing with you guys, you know, just so you are aware. So I suppose then when we talk about what is happening in the top 2, I know you spent quite a bit of time analyzing what's happening with them. Then, Imran, what did you observe over the past couple of weeks?
I think similar to last week, both Paul and Wayne a couple of weeks ago went big on Spurs. I think obviously you see Wayne has the whole of the front 3, and I think Paul had Kane and Kulusevski straight away, and that was paying dividends for them. Spurs went on a bit of a dip of form, and you can see that Wayne has stuck with it, whereas Paul decided to cash in on them, and Paul no longer has any Spurs players, whereas Wayne has kept the 3. And now that Spurs are back on form, I think Paul is really suffering, where, as you can see, Wayne has got a lot of points from Son, Kulusevski and Kane this week, and I think that will contribute to the lead that's been shown in the league now.
Interesting, very, very interesting. And you haven't mentioned anything, but I think worldwide, Salah let a few people down last week, but I noticed that you very cleverly ignored that point.
I think last week, like I was really looking forward to flexing this in this show, and then we went and lost to Everton. But I think last week Salah was worldwide the most captain player. But I remember thinking, like, last weekend, I was like, well, realistically, Salah is playing on Thursday against Villarreal in a Champions League semi. And then, you know, he's got to play. It was a Saturday game as well, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Saturday, 12:30. So, yeah.
Like, common sense says, probably don't want to captain this guy. And so I was like, yes, let's go. Everyone's captain Salah, not captain Mount. Points are coming in. And
then it turned out to be, you know, a spectacular flop, right?
But in fairness, it wasn't that he performed bad. He was rested by Klopp. He didn't come on until like the 65th minute. But I think from now on, I think he will start every single Premier League game.
I don't know if you want to make any comments on that comment on screen there, Imran, from Christian Corbin, actually.
Next season I'm catching Imran. We'll see. You have to perform well because I'm going for the top.
Wow.
I mean, it's surely the next step. I think I finished 3rd last year. Probably going to finish 3rd this year. I've got to make that step up.
Well, you know, we will wait and see. But, you know, between the 3 of us, there's always a little bit of competition. And I'm not going to be boasting or anything because clearly I'm what's that? I'm not boasting. I'm not boasting, honestly, you know, because, you know, clearly I finished ahead of the 2 of you again this week. But look, I scored 62 points in game week 35, but there's not a lot to celebrate, if I'm honest. I'm still languishing down in the bottom half of the table. But I am banking on my guy Son Heung-min to bring it home for me and to help me get over the line and at least finish with a decent total. If I finish with a decent total, I feel okay. Son was my guy. I made a mistake though. I thought I had captained him only to realize that I went for Van Dijk and was banking on the clean sheet and a headed goal, and that didn't happen. So, but I was still satisfied. And, you know, once I looked there and I saw that, man, I outplayed these young fellas this week. Great stuff. No problem at all. I felt good about that. You know, Dennis didn't quite bring it home for me. I thought in the Champions League game recently that Timo Werner had actually turned the corner.
Agreed. He's been playing really well, and then I watched the game, and he was back to his normal self again.
I don't even know what to say. The guy just kind of let me down badly, and I was kind of hoping that he would have gotten a couple of goals, but anyway, I'll leave that one there. But I finished on the top of the three of us, so that was all right. That's always my objective. As soon as I look at the points, where are these two?
Fair enough. Promising for next season. Promising signs for next season for you.
Really?
Yeah, if you finish the season strong. Yeah.
Well, I've got my eyes on a couple of players who will be working well. But then again, you can't predict it, can you?
Yeah,
because this season it's been all about the defenders and the clean sheets.
That's true. Once again, look at your strikers there. The strikers just throughout the season they just haven't performed at all. It's mad.
Well, yeah, Dennis and Tony and Werner, 6 points across the front. That's a failure for me, man.
Yeah, that is horrible.
That's even your guy Diaz, because I was kind of hoping that he's running into some good form towards the end of the season. I was hoping that he too would have done nothing. 3 points is a blank for me, man. So very, very disappointing. Very, very disappointing. I can't say anything else on that. But you ran me a close second, Imran.
Yep, I think a decent week, but of course, once again, I got my captaincy wrong. It's just the story of my season. The captaincy has failed me so many times, and I think similar to you, Son carried me through this week. But I think my defender scored pretty highly, 3 out of the 4, keeping clean sheets, which is a good source of points. But apart from that and Son, both my strikers blanked, all my midfielders, apart from Son, blanked. So yeah, I think the individuals carried me through.
I mean, 6 across the front for me was disappointed, but I mean 2.
2 across the front, yeah, exactly.
That is laughing material.
I think it was really frustrating watching the Arsenal game because Nketiah did play really well, and
he should have had a goal, man.
Exactly, it's intangibles like that you can't see, but obviously you'd hope he gets more points because from the performance. But yeah, obviously it was a proper dogged striker performance and didn't get his goal for it though.
Nah, what a shame. What do you? I keep meaning to ask you. What do you think about James? Because I keep telling Kyle that he can't defend, but Kyle, passionately defends him. He can't defend, man.
I would disagree. I think he has lapses in concentration. I think it is interesting to see how he will adapt because I think the time where he's come through into the Chelsea team has been in the back 5, and of course when you're playing right wing back as opposed to right back, you're a lot more protected, especially when James has Azpilicueta behind him.
Yeah.
But I still think he's the second best right back in the league behind Trent, of course. So I do rate him very highly. Yeah.
You rate him ahead of Kyle Walker?
I would say so. Yeah, I think Walker's limited on the ball.
Come off of it, man. What are you talking about?
You think Walker's the best English right back?
I think he's better than James.
Fair enough. I think what James offers on the ball outweighs what Walker offers on the ball.
All right, we got to run their numbers in a future show and see exactly what's going on there.
We should do that.
We got to put this one down and see exactly what's happening there. Well, Kyle, sadly, you got the bronze position between the 3 of us this week.
And as I said, came out all guns, but the week before, I was so happy with myself because then the same thing happened where everybody captained Salah and he blanked. But I captained Robertson and he got a goal and a clean sheet, and I was like, that is tactics. And I went and did exactly the same thing with Mount, just for him to. It wasn't even the fact that he blanked, because you can see there he got 2 points, and the reason for that is because he got booked for a stupid challenge.
That is a blank. 2 points for a captain, just
ridiculous. He didn't even get 2 points. He got 1, against Everton. It's ridiculous. And like you were saying with Werner, it wasn't just Timo. That was one of the worst team performances I've seen from Chelsea.
It was painful to watch. It was
awful, man. I was telling Chris, because I knew I was on Team of the Week this week. I was like, if we get any kind of equaliser or winning goal in this game, there is no way I'm missing out Ruben Loftus-Cheek and that Team of the Week. Because by far he was probably our. I don't know whether it's because we were so bad that he looked good, or he was just so good that the rest of us were awful.
I think it's a bit of both, but being next to Jorginho, it ain't hard to look good, is it? Oh my gosh, that player frustrates me, man.
What's Jorginho done to the two of you?
Me and Carl have had an agenda for a while now.
Oh my word! I mean, every time you open your mouth, it's Jorginho. What's Jorginho done for you?
I remember it's funny because obviously these posters are in the background. This is my bedroom, and Jorginho is actually the poster right here. And it's funny because the stat says he had a 94 pass success on his PL debut, but if you actually watch his PL debut, I think he has about 5 passes that are forwards, and you're like, that is an amazing stat, 94%. That is accurate passing. But when all of the passes are backwards, what's the point? And you're like, it's ridiculous. And so I've never understood. I've said this to Imran for like at least 2 seasons now. I've never understood how Jorginho gets a starting role in Chelsea midfield.
Wow.
Like when you have Kante, Kovacic, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek all fit, and Jorginho is still starting, there's something wrong there. Like,
wow, that's incredible. I would just like to just ask one quick question about what is the justification for Wang being in your front line?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like I actually, funnily enough, he's no longer in my front line.
Oh!
But yeah, it's like Wolves are fallen, man.
Wolves are on the beach in Barbados, my friend.
Yeah,
that's where they are.
Like I remember, like 3 shows ago, I thought, man, could Wolves come here and fuck? Because I remember, like I have silently been rooting for Man United to get pipped off the European spot by West Ham and by Wolves, but Wolves just have no fight in them, man. Yeah. Like it is,
they're gone. They're gone. They reckon they've secured themselves mid-table, and the players are not. They're not doing anything now. It's ridiculous the way that they're performing. But listen, it was great competing against the two of you. Let's see what this weekend brings. I'm still fighting for this top place between the 3 of us every week. if you will believe it. So then, on to the race.
Yep. And I think, well, first of all, just going back on the comment that I just saw from Chris, Wan-Bissaka doesn't deserve to be in those debates anymore.
Yeah. That's why I took that down pretty quickly, because I was hoping that nobody wouldn't have seen that one at the end, because that's just a joke. That is seriously.
You didn't even have Lamptey over him at this point.
Well, that is true too. So, what do you make of the race? I'm going to leave you to say what your thoughts are, and then I'll tell you mine. I've got a feeling I know where you're going. Go ahead.
Well, of course, but he's 3 goals ahead. He's still on the penalties, and I think in the run-in is where Salah will step up, and where the pressure counts, he'll step up to the cause and perform for us. And I think he will get that goal in the boot at the end. I reckon he'll finish on a good 20, 25, 26 because he's had his rest. Yes, of course, 4 goals.
No way.
4 games left.
No way.
You don't think so?
That's at least a goal a game.
He's got too much distance in his legs, man. You ain't getting on 26 goals. Come off of it, man.
He's had his rest v Newcastle, and there's no more Champions League to worry about now. I think it's time where he's been playing a more of a creative role, but I think he wants to cash in on his goals now. He did an interview with BT the other day where he says his aim for across all competitions was 40 goals, and he's not there yet, so he's determined to get there.
I think one thing we keep forgetting on this show with this Son versus Salah debate is that they still have to play each other. Like
that's a good point.
We still have Liverpool v Spurs. It's either their next game or the game after.
It's in 24 hours.
Oh yeah, fair enough. So like we're here sat debating whether Salah will get more goals than Son, but I guess the conversation will become inherently more easier tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, look, I am trying my back in, if that is worth anything, to my boy Son, because he's in my team for a reason, because he's coming good when it matters. And I heard them asking him on the telly this week about the golden boot. And, he's giving all that talk about, oh no, that's not my focus. It's all about the team, and all that nonsense. But Son is gonna win this golden boot, and I can't believe I'm saying this about a Spurs player. But hey, I think he's coming into form at the right time, and he's looking fantastic. So I am pipping him to just beat Salah at the end for it, Imran. I'm sorry, Salah's not going to get any 26 or 27 goals. Come off of it, man.
We'll see by the end show. We'll see how it goes. But I'll back him for 25.
Well, okay, that's fair play. And I have to ask this question: take those 18 goals that Ronaldo have scored out of United this season, where would they be?
Exactly. I think the performances in recent weeks they've shocked me, honestly, because I didn't think he still had it in him to play that complete striker role. And I think starting from that Arsenal game, he's just been incredible with his all-round performance.
Well, he has been incredible. They have not.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I was gonna he's in my team of the week this week, and honestly, I was gonna point this out, but Imran's kind of stolen it from me. Like that was one of the most complete Ronaldo performances I've seen all season.
Yeah.
Like against Brentford, he was absolutely everywhere. It was amazing that game when he finished 3-0. But it was a fantastic performance. But in all fairness, United actually played pretty well. But Ronaldo was fantastic in that game, and he's absolutely a perfect striker game from Ronaldo.
I think United have been pretty poor. Actually.
Oh yeah. But they have been, but that game was very good.
It made me chuckle when I saw your team of the week, which we'll see in a few minutes. But I was like, wow, man, this is really incredible. But listen, Harry Kane, he was predicted to be where Salah is at the moment. Are we seeing the fact that Kane spent so much time sulking after that Man City move at the beginning of the season that it really cost him the goals that would have kept him in this race?
Yeah.
Or do you think that's a factor?
Of course, I don't think he regrets it though. I think he still will want to be prying for a move in the summer, especially if the rumours of Conte wanting to leave already.
Oh, God.
But, what's wrong at Spurs?
Yeah, honestly, where do we start on that? But yeah, I think the fact that he salvaged it to 13 goals is somewhat of an achievement, considering he took the first half of the season pretty much on holiday. So yeah. I think it is. He'll be back next season wherever he is.
Yeah. I agree with you. I just wondered how much more he might have been doing had he been really focused around those first couple of months of the season. He would have been incredible. He's got 13 goals in.
Yeah.
And your other two guys that are sandwiched there between him and Ronaldo. You reckon they'll get a few more before the end?
I don't think Jota will start every game in the run-in now. I think he's out of the main.
He's had his lot.
Yeah, I think the front three that Klopp has decided on is the Salah, Mane, Diaz front three, and I don't think Jota will be able to break his way in until now to the end of the season. So yeah, I don't think he'll bag too many, but I think Mane has a right shout at it because he's going to be playing striker for the rest of the season.
Wow. Well, as I said, I am backing my boy Sonny because I think he has what it takes. He's incredible. Wow. So, we like to do an in-focus piece on players during the season, and we've looked at quite a few over the course of this show. But this guy, Millie,
James Milner,
one of my favorite players, man. He doesn't play for Arsenal, sadly. He could have had such a much better career, but anyway.
Beg to differ.
Of course you would. Of course you beg to differ. I think you can't help but look at Millie's numbers, though, and the incredible longevity of the guy, man. I mean... in fact, let me let you wax about him, Imran, because he's one of your players. So
honestly, I was looking at the team sheet on Saturday, and I'd expected us to rest a few players. I did not expect James Milner to play, to be starting a game in 2022, and he's like 36 years old now, 37, and yet he's still trusted by Klopp in the heart of the midfield for the Premier League challenges. And boy, he was incredible. Honestly, I can't
what
even
a player.
I think I saw a stat afterwards. He covered the most distance out of every player on the pitch, which is just sums him up realistically. He's the levels of energy that he has, and he's actually more technical than people give him credit for. I think he can play left back even though he's right-footed, and he still holds the record for the most assists in a Champions League campaign, which is like mind-blowing when you think about the incredible players that played in the Champions League.
But he's got an incredible stat for this season as well, hasn't he? In terms of distance covered.
Yeah. I think it was surprising that he outran every single player. I think per 90 he covers the most distance in the Premier League, which is just insane for a 36-year-old.
And then you think this guy doesn't even play every game.
Exactly, it's outstanding.
Which of those clubs there you and I know what you might say, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Which of those clubs there you reckon got the absolute best out of him over the course of those 586 appearances?
I think honestly I would say City and Liverpool. Towards it, I think City, he wanted to move from playing that right mid role, but he did play that role really well. But then his first couple seasons at Liverpool, where he was starting in the Champions League, he got us to the Champions League final, and obviously that campaign where he got the most assists in the Champions League, I think is his peak. I think you can't deny that.
Yeah, I would agree. I remember when he was a young kid up at Newcastle back in the early days, and you would never have thought that his career would have carried on for such a long time, and he would have had such valuable contributions across such significant teams. You look at the teams that he has played for, and you can't help but say, wow, this guy almost 100. Well, I suppose he didn't quite get 100 games early in his career, but everywhere else he's gone, he's almost got there, and he's got there and more. Heading to 200 games already. I would not have thought that James Milner would have played more games for Liverpool than he did for City.
Yeah, than any other club. Yeah, Liverpool's is now most.
Which is incredible.
Club. Yeah, I think it's mad to think that he made his debut and scored his first Premier League goal before me and Carl were born.
And now what I'm saying.
And now we're still watching him play. It's just, it is mind blowing.
Like I remember Imran, because Imran uses Twitter a lot, and I remember him sending a tweet. I think it was either the beginning of this season or the end of last season. Harvey Elliott's he won a penalty that James Milner scored.
Oh yeah.
It was funny because the tweet was like, Harvey Elliott, who was born in this year, wins a penalty, and James Milner, who's been playing football longer than Harvey Elliott has been alive, converts the penalty. And I'm like, this guy, man.
And also to mention the intangibles that he brings, I think the reason we're keeping him, I think we will give him another contract extension, is because he's like behind Hendo, the biggest leader in the dressing room, and I think Klopp really appreciates that. He's definitely going to be a coach in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, and will be well deserved as well, and will be well sought after, I'm sure, because he just seems to be a very good guy. You know, everybody seems to like him, irrespective of what clubs he's played for. You don't really hear people saying anything bad about James Milner. He's just one of those guys, and he works hard. You know, sadly, his England career, and we didn't even put his England numbers up there. You know, but I reckon he could still be playing for England. You know,
honestly, you could put a shift in. Honestly,
yeah, and he would be a good guy to have around his squad.
Yeah,
and he's got his 3 Premier League trophies. You know.
And Champions League.
Well, I didn't put that in there because we're talking the Premier League here. But if there's one person I would love to see win another one who plays for Liverpool, it would be James Milner, because I think he fully deserves it. Very committed guy, really excellent player, and a fabulous example for young players in the dressing room. So he's in focus this week because we love Millie. He's a great guy. So Kyle, it's over to you.
Yeah. So it's interesting because when I was speaking to Chris, like literally minutes after the Chelsea game ended, I remember turning to him and going, you know, if you were to look at the stats, it's one of those games where you're like, if you looked at the stats and didn't watch this game, there's absolutely no way you could fathom how this game actually went. Because, like, man, Pickford was immense. Like, I know you missed a lot of it, but like, Pickford was immense in this game, man. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, man, he totally rescued Everton. We should have won the game. He did rescue Everton, but Everton also deserved to win the game. So, like, it was like that double save off the corner was ridiculous.
Incredible.
Like, I was in shock. I was like, you know what? Hands down, Everton.
Really?
Like, it was mental. I've got Varane there. I think Varane was, of all the 11, was probably the luckiest to get in because he did score. But I guess, like, defensively, United didn't really have to do much. And I think of the United defenders, he probably put the most in defensively. And as well as that, he also got the goals. So he got a mention.
I think this is one of the few teams that he'll be able to get in. But anyway.
I remember thinking. I was writing that down. I was like, Raphael Varane? Goodness me. This is probably like the first and last team of the week he'll get in, as long as he's at United. But it was interesting to see Rob Holding get on the score sheet against West Ham. I forgot that guy even played anymore, to be honest. And then not only to see him, but to see him score was quite a sight. So he was also very good defensive. That was a good game to watch. For the neutral, it was a very entertaining game. Ruben Dias, very similar to Varane, was most involved in the defensive line against Leeds, and he also had Cancelo had a goal line clearance, but Diaz also had an equally as important clearance. But I guess obviously because of Cancelo is less looked upon. Phil Foden with his 2 assists, I could speak about him for days. Honestly, every time he plays, you probably hear him like, "Oh my goodness, Phil Foden, what a player!"
He's a great player.
He's honestly something else. Juan Mata and Matic, which I know you're going to give me stick for, but
I'm just going to let you talk.
Genuinely, like against Brentford, they absolutely controlled the midfield. And like I said earlier in the show, United have been very, very poor this season. And not only to see United not only have so much of the ball, but retain it so well was absolutely down to the contribution of both Matic and Mata. More so Matic. I think it was Mata got an assist. And Matic also got booked, which brought his rating in the game a bit further down. But I have to say, the two of them very much dictated the game. And as I said, Ronaldo was absolutely one of the best performances of the entire season from Ronaldo. It was ridiculous. Kulusevski and Son, honestly, not much more to say about Kulusevski and Son, to be honest. We haven't really spoken much, I think, about Kulusevski this season. And I guess that's because of the fact that he's a new signing. But he's come in and done really, really well. I remember looking a couple of weeks ago. He's a bit too expensive for my FPL side, so I couldn't really get him in. But he's in and amongst some of the highest scoring midfielders on FPL, and he's only been here since like February. So
he's making a real impact, boy.
He is, yeah.
Still young as well.
Huh?
He's still young as well. I'm pretty sure he's only 22, 21.
Is he? Oh, wow. Yeah. Where's he been signed from?
Juventus.
Oh.
Yeah, he went to Juventus as like a teenager, but it never really worked out there.
One of those, kind of like Traore.
Yeah.
And then Danny Welbeck against Wolves. I mean, I've already kind of mentioned how awful Wolves have been recently, but Danny Welbeck was fantastic against them. But he was, again, a very complete striker performance. He was quite unlucky in places, but still very, very good.
Well, I keep a palette of the players, obviously, for when we're going to make these assets for the show. And when you put through your team of the week, I was like, Mata and Matic. Well, I don't have any. I don't have them in any palette. Where am I going to find them? Gosh, man, I don't even think they've played a good game all season. But I reckon this is you just having a little bit of Chelsea sentiment, because I think both of them just played their last games at Old Trafford anyway. So you know, they're on their way, and I wonder where they're going to show up next.
We'll see.
And you want to say anything about Conte? You picked him as manager of the week.
Yeah, like, I mean, it'll be very interesting to see what Spurs do if they keep him. Because if they don't keep him, it almost like completely brings us back to where we were at the beginning of the season with who are Spurs going to get.
That is Spurs.
Like, I genuinely think that if they do keep Conte, they could have quite a decent season next season.
Agreed, yeah.
It also depends on whether they get top four. If they do get top four, it will probably be an incentive for Conte to stay. If they don't, then more likely than not, it'll be on his way. But I
think a lot of that will hang off of whether or not Kane is going to be around next season at Spurs.
But I think it'll be the other way around. I reckon Kane stays if Conte stays, and Kane leaves if Conte leaves. So it's a bit of a balance. I don't know what they're going to do about it. Well,
we will see. Now, obviously, back at the beginning of the season, and as we are coming towards the end of the season, we've got to do some reflections, don't we? So, remember when we were talking about big transfers and all these big names coming in? Look, this is the business end now. So, what do you think across the 8 that we've got here, who we labeled as the big transfers right at the beginning?
I think we've got a proper good disparity between flops and ones that have hit the ground running. I think.
So, who is your pick of the flops?
The pick of the flops. Oof, I think for the price tag, that's just so. I was going to say Grealish, but then you look at Lukaku for the same price as well.
Jeez, I would go for Lukaku, to be honest.
You can't look past Grealish and Lukaku. I'd say Lukaku.
Lukaku is the pick of the flops. Wow.
Yeah. I think.
Do you look? There's some people on our Facebook page that think that we're being unfair. We're unfairing Lukaku because he's not being played in position and they're not servicing well and all that kind of talk. Is that right, or do you think that Lukaku generally has not had a good season?
Well, I know that the recent performances are going to completely contradict what I'm about to say. But if you compare the performances without Lukaku to the performances with Lukaku and just watch how much more free, fast and fluid we are as a team, I'm not sure you can argue Lukaku's presence in the team. And that's just my personal opinion. And you will very rarely be able to hear me say, I will love to have Havertz at striker, because I don't think Havertz is at his best when he plays striker. But I think we play better as a team when he's at striker compared to if Lukaku's at striker. That's just my I think that's very obvious to see.
Well, I'm not gonna go against you. You know your Chelsea players. You know what you're looking for. I mean, I struggle to understand them sometimes, but hey, that's me. But I think Lukaku's definitely up there as one of the flops of the season. Came in on a big price tag with a big reputation. Was doing it well in Italy, but it just didn't happen for him. But I remember, if we go back to the show early in the season, I said, listen, this guy is not going to do anything. He's just a flat trap bully. Don't pay Lukaku any mind. So I said, so done.
Yeah, to be fair, you were spot on in that regard.
The guy is a joker.
In fact, he's probably done worse than even you thought, because
this is true.
You said his problem was going to be in the big games. His problem is in all of the games. It's ridiculous, honestly. £100 million for that.
Yeah. I'm going to pick a flop as well, but I'm going to go with Danny Ings because, again, Danny Ings has this issue where he had a few good games a season. He's off hurt for a substantial period. That has not happened at Villa this season, though. He has been a little bit more consistent than where he was at Southampton and Liverpool previously. But 6 goals from 25 is a poor return for Danny Ings. And to be honest, the guy is very technically good, but he just don't seem to be working for him at Villa, and I think he's had a poor season.
I've got to ask because you can go on because I'm going to probably change.
All right, so I think, to be fair to Ings, the circumstances around the fact that they had to change manager, and then Gerrard's been tinkering a lot with Watkins and Ings and trying to play them together or trying to play just one at a time, and then he's come off the bench a lot of the time. So I think the fact that he's got 6 goals, 6 assists isn't awful, but yeah, I think maybe if they get a bit more consistent in terms of their team selection and they actually stick with either one of Ings or Watkins, then maybe we'll see his numbers increase because he's still obviously a great goal scorer.
Very good, excellent.
I mean, like I don't watch much match of the day as a uni student, so when I come home, I do quite enjoy watching it. And I remember they asked on the show last week about Philippe Coutinho's presence in that Villa team and whether it was absolutely vital for their team next season. What do you think?
I would probably say not completely vital. I was actually speaking to a Villa fan earlier, and he says that they feel that Buendia is being treated unfairly because of Coutinho. They think that Gerrard's favoriting Coutinho over Buendia, whereas that's not the best thing for the team, which surprised me actually.
Yeah, I thought Coutinho's arrival was really important for Villa, and he landed well. Mm-hmm. But he's kind of gone off the boil over the last 6 or 7 games. He's been missing, and you can see why Villa fans will be upset. But I suspect that if they get their spending right in the summer, Villa will be a important mid-table force to be reckoned with next season.
I think if they sort that defense out, I think Gerrard will do that. I think they could push for a top 8 finish, but remains to be seen. Yeah.
I'm going to mention another flop, but I'm not going to be too harsh. But we'll say in a minute, I thought Sancho would have arrived at United and really been a breath of fresh air. But I think he's suffered from whatever else is happening at United. So I'm not going to be too harsh and say that he's been a big flop of the season. But I expected more from his first season, really.
I do not think he suits the mold of a wide player in the Premier League. He just doesn't have that burst of acceleration, which I thought he had. Yeah, I think he can't, like a Luis Diaz or a Mane or a Salah. He doesn't have the burst to get past the player, and I think that really does hinder him. But I feel like as you said, if United settle down and they get the team right, I think he could be in business if they get some runners off the ball and that he can play intricate football with. Then that'll suit him more.
See, it's interesting because I know Imran says this a lot. So, like, I remember at the beginning of the season when we had our first show, I always say this about Pogba, is that in international football, Pogba looks like one of the best midfielders in football history. And it's mental, and you watch games in club football and you're like, what is going on? Because most people can't understand that international football is so much more slower than club football. And I think that's something similar that we're seeing with Sancho, is that we look at Sancho at international level and we're like, man, this guy is serious, man. He's such a good dribbler of the ball. But then when you come to Prem football and people are coming like tight onto you within a second and you've got to make split decisions like that, I think it makes you a different winger, and you've got to be a different player to adapt to those situations. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we will. I've got hopes for him though, because I think he'll come well. But look, we got to pick key performers of the season, not flops. But these guys really well. I suppose you got to start with Ronaldo. 18 goals, heading for a Golden Boot contender.
Well, we haven't featured this slide for a few shows, and so I was updating it. And from the last show, which was only about 2 months ago, he was on 9 goals, and he's doubled that in the space in the time between these shows. And man, honestly, the performances at the start of the season, you thought that he was really going to hinder United across the whole season. But what he's shown in the last month or two, I think is very promising. If they can keep him next season, that they can actually build around Ronaldo, and he can still be that man that can be the complete striker that United need.
But there's been a lot of chatter behind the scenes in the football circles that he has been a hindrance to United this season.
I think the recent performance, I would agree. I was agreeing with that up until a couple months ago, where he started putting in these performances, and maybe he wasn't the problem, because of course United have so many other problems behind them that it's hard to single out the guy that scored 18 goals for them this season.
Yeah, I think he would have to be the pick to me. When you look across those 8, and I'm happy with Ramsdale. I think he's been okay at Arsenal, erratic at times, but he's been good for us, and I think he's done a good job for us between the sticks, and he's partly responsible for why we've gone from where we were up into that top 4 position. So I was quite pleased to see, he's played a lot of games, which I was surprised that Arteta threw him straight in. 12 clean sheets is a good return in my view, because Arsenal backline is still not good, but getting better. We are competing, we're up there, and we're chasing Kyle. So I'm happy with that.
I'd argue White has been better than Ramsdale as a signing. I think I'm actually really impressed with White, how he's settled into the Arsenal team. I think he's the better of the 2 centre backs out of him and Gabriel.
Oh, he is. Oh, definitely. He's shown a real good maturity this season that I felt was lacking. And there's a calmness to him that I think you don't find with Gabriel. Again, he's a little bit like Bruno Fernandes. He gets involved in things on the pitch that don't concern him, and then suddenly he's all over the shop positionally. But I think Ben White has brought a real maturity and calmness to Arsenal's backline. And I actually think him and Holding are a better pairing than White and Gabriel. But you don't see that very often. So, but there you go. Those are our picks from the big transfers, and a few flops in there as well.
It's interesting to single out these United players, because though we constantly like pick out like Fernandes and Ronaldo, but when we actually look at this, like I know like I've literally said about 15 minutes ago that stats often don't reflect the actual games. But if you actually look at the goal scorers and assists for United throughout the season, I'm pretty sure Bruno and Ronaldo are top 2. Yeah. And we constantly like slate them. I think like Bruno's still in the top 15, maybe even top 10 for most assists this season. And you're like, fair enough.
Fair enough. Absolutely. Look, we lost 10 managers over the course of this season. And some of these probably stayed too long. Maybe some of them could have stayed a bit longer. And probably some of them should not have been in the job in the first place. I don't know. What do you think across these 10?
I think you could say that most of them were the right decision. I think the only one I'd argue was a definite wrong decision was Rafa Benitez. I know Everton were poor.
Really?
Well, that's based on the fact that they got Frank Lampard as a replacement.
People think Benitez is a double agent. He was sent in there to do a job.
I was certainly enjoying it, but I still think he was their best chance. I think he would have given them a way better chance. I don't think they'd be in the position they were if they'd kept Benitez. They're in now.
Seriously?
Yeah, I think Lampard. I do not rate Lampard at all. I've said before.
No, I think Lampard is lucky.
Honestly, I think Benitez would have got more results than Lampard did.
For me, I just think that they shouldn't have got rid of Rafa without a replacement. I think if they got rid of Rafa knowing that they were going to replace him with Lampard, that'd be even worse.
Yeah.
Because there was obviously like points where people thought that Rooney was going to come to Everton. We were like, but yeah, I totally agree with him on there. Like, I think Everton. I'm not saying they would have been much better, but they probably would have had a lot of a better chance if they kept Rafa.
Well, November was the month of sackings this season. 4 managers lost their job. There was a lot of talk about Ollie out, but on reflection, has United really progressed that much since he's gone?
I'd say they've got worse. I think
so as well.
Some of the performances have been absolutely awful. Rangnick is not the man for the job at all. I don't think he's a really good manager at all. I think he's going to move into a consultancy role in the future for United. I think he's more suited to that, but I think they could have stuck with Ole to the end of the season at least.
Yeah, I think so. I think that Ole, look, it's always going to be hard to turn United around and get them playing, and everybody always seems to measure them against, the Alex Ferguson teams, and that history is always around their neck. But Ole got a raw deal. People might not like that, but when you sack the manager, you expect to see progression, and I don't think United have made any progress, to be fair, on the pitch. The man that I felt stayed too long was Bielsa.
That's a fair point.
Are you a fan of him in general? In terms of
but I don't know what I'm a fan of. I hear people. I hear all the people who know football, going on about his credibility in the game and what he's done and all this stuff. But I look at Leeds and I think to myself, but what's really going on here, though? These guys are too open and expansive.
Yeah, like as a neutral, I tend to just lean to, Leeds are a really entertaining team to watch. But if I was a Leeds fan, would I be happy week in, week out with Leeds constantly conceding 3 goals per game? Like, it's not, by all means, he makes his players work for sure. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, if I was a Leeds fan, I would struggle watching my team constantly concede 2 goals, 3 goals. It's not fun, man.
I felt he stayed a little bit too long, and unfortunately for Leeds, it didn't look as though it was working, because they were going to concede a lot of goals every week. They'll score, but it's about whether or not they can develop, and Leeds need to stay in the Premier League, because they spent so long outside the top division. This is not a season really to be flirting with relegation, so I felt he just stayed a little bit too long.
Yeah, I think Jesse Marsch is a good manager as well. I think if they'd have gotten him a bit earlier, they would be a bit clear of the relegation battle. And I think for me, they might be favourites to go down right now.
I think they've got a sticky one to come. And of course, our guy Sean Dyche, we stopped doing the Saturdays because we felt, well, that's it. That's done. No, it's April. And Dyche gets himself sacked in April.
Well, we all criticised it, but they've been pretty good so far. So
it's working.
Yeah, like as I said at the beginning of the show, I came home last Saturday and Burnley were playing on that Saturday. They were either playing Watford. I think they were playing Watford. And I was listening to it on the way back home on the train. And they were saying since, let me try and remember the stat correctly. I think Dyche had an average of 10 shots per game this season. And since he's gone, they've had an average of 15. And make of that what you will, but if you're having more shots on goal, then you're clearly attacking more.
Well, I think the stat that stood up for me last weekend was they were saying that Burnley have never come from behind to draw a Premier League game in 66 attempts.
Wow. Really hell.
And they came from behind in 1-2-1 last weekend.
That is crazy.
So, it is unbelievable. Clearly something is happening there. And I'm sure Dyche, as we said last show, will re-emerge somewhere soon. So at the beginning of the season, we made these predictions. Let me just remember what mine were.
I'm looking. Can we delete some of mine quickly?
Well, which one would you like to delete?
Look at my golden boot shout.
He doesn't even play in the league anymore.
Exactly. We got shipped off halfway through the season. Oh my gosh.
I find it interesting that all three of us had United players at signing of the season.
We really, because I think the general feeling at the start of the season was they've just come second and they've strengthened quite a lot with Imran, Sancho and Ronaldo. So I think everyone was optimistic for United, and then they went and did worst of all the seasons.
So which one of them would you pull up from your lane then, Imran, or which two?
As the worst or as the best?
Well, which prediction you felt was okay? That's all right.
Ooh, I think flop of the season I got spot on with Grealish.
Oh yeah, absolutely 100%.
I think another one that's actually one of my predictions that was awful actually, but we didn't expect it to be, is top playmaker Kevin De Bruyne. I think he's only got about 3 assists this season, which is just ridiculously low for De Bruyne. Yeah,
he's had an interesting season. He's had good games in bursts, but he's usually fairly consistent. So he ain't going to be no player this season.
It's his goal scoring that has been better in those games rather than his playmaking, which is a surprise.
And your one to watch was Samari?
Yep, and he just has not broken to the team at all.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, nobody's watching. I think I had Kane in there for the Golden Boot, as you can see. But he's in the top 6, so not too bad, but that's not what you expect. He had a bad first, as we said. I can't believe that I thought Fernandes was going to be top playmaker. As I've been watching him over the course of the season, the guy's too miserable, man. He gets too emotionally involved, and he's part of the reason why I think things don't click in United's middle. Flop of the season, Timo Werner. Well, I will have to take that back a little bit, only because I think towards the end, he's seeming to be turning things around a little bit, and I hold to Smith Rowe one to watch. Definitely.
Agreed, yeah.
He's had a good season.
I think it's interesting because funny because we looked at this 2 weeks ago. I think I have a very different thing to say, but that stat that you just mentioned when talking about James Milner in terms of distance covered in the Prem, Billy Gilmour was also on that list, which surprised me. I was like, really? I've always rated him as a player, but for him to be one of the highest distance covered players in the entire Prem with Norwich is quite a sight. So I was quite proud of the lad. I'm very excited for him to come back. Because if he comes back, it gives us even less reason to start Jorginho. So.
Do you reckon you actually reckon he can break into the team?
I mean, I guess it kind of depends on the summer we have, doesn't it? Because, goodness me, our summer's going to be hectic. I couldn't possibly tell you what's going to happen this summer. I have no idea. Normally I come to you saying, yeah, we need this, but I honestly do not have a clue what.
I've got another question.
Yeah,
Gilmour or Gallagher?
Ooh, wow. That's a great question. Wow. Well, he doesn't seem to have an answer for that.
No. I think it's interesting because I really like Gilmour as a player. I think of the two and the way they play, I think Gilmour fits our system better, but I think Gallagher is a better player.
That's a very good answer, actually. Yeah, that's probably what I would go with as well.
Interesting. But one thing that you've pipped us both with, Kyle, well, at least that's what it seems like. I'm not going to commit because I think my guy will overturn. You've gone for Salah for the Golden Boot.
Yeah.
We didn't see that coming.
Thinking about it now, I cannot believe I didn't back Salah. I think Salah's probably going to take Golden Boot and top playmaker at this rate, but we'll see.
I'm sure you know, but do you know who's leading the Golden Glove race?
Alisson, yeah. Alisson's got 20, I think.
Oh my word.
Yeah. I think Edison's 2 behind.
Well, we saw that coming, didn't we, Imran? You know,
Yep.
I'm just saying, but it was fun to understand and look ahead, which we'll get to do again next season. Brilliant. So the next 6 is not changing. This is the same from last time, Imran. So who's coming next for you?
So we've got our wins v Everton, got our win v Newcastle. It's probably the hardest game left, of course. Spurs tomorrow night, and I think obviously we'll be confident going into that game. We're on a big high right now. We've got the FA Cup final to come, just got through to Champions League final. Like, you can't see anything but a Liverpool win. At the same time, though, Spurs have the players to damage that Liverpool high line. That front three,
Man, I'm telling you,
It's
honestly,
going to be a spicy game, actually.
Kane dropping, Kulusevski could drop in, playing balls through to
Son is in here.
Oh, honestly, especially that right hand side with Trent. I think Son can definitely get in behind a lot, and that could cause a lot of problems. But we've got Addison Becker as well, so you never know.
Man, look, if I hear Son is in here, I'm gonna message you because I think he I'm back in Son, man. I think the guy is fabulous, and well, I suppose the next 2 you just assume those are just wins.
Well, pressure does weird things to
Gerrard is not going to cripple things for Liverpool, is he?
You'd hope so, at least. I think Aston Villa and Wolves both play Liverpool and City, so them 2 teams alone could decide the title race.
Wolves are finished, mate. Respectfully.
I agree.
Like, I don't know if you've seen any of them. Honestly, that they were at home against Brighton, and it was woeful.
Wow.
Like, absolutely woeful. Like, you would think they'd had a man sent off the way they were playing. It was unbelievable.
Wow. Well, normally they've turned into City's bogey team over the last few years, so I'm hoping they have one more performance in the bag.
Both Manchester clubs, to be fair.
They are dreadful. They really are. and Kyle, you've got them to play though.
Yep, exactly. Like,
they might lift themselves for you.
Yeah, I mean, like, if we'd beaten Everton, I would absolutely say, yeah, we'll totally walk over them. But yeah, I mean, to go away from home at Goodison Park and lose in the way we did is embarrassing, to be honest with you.
But you need to win. You need to win tomorrow.
Yeah, we do. Like, I mean, I've been trying to confidently convince Chris that Arsenal game against Spurs is massive for Chelsea, because it is. Like, it's a 6-pointer for Chelsea as well as it is for Arsenal and Spurs. But at the same time, we can't afford to lose any of these games. Like, gosh. I would be so much more confident if we hadn't lost against Everton. That Everton loss rattled me, because I don't know what to do.
Don't worry about it, man. Just play the game.
I can't be playing like that against these teams, man.
Well, the Arsenal are coming, my friend. So we've got to play Leeds, who I think are always dangerous, but I am pretty confident that we can overturn them at the Emirates. For me, it is Thursday the 12th. That is the big day.
Of course.
We go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. As much as I love the stadium, it's a great, fantastic place. We're going to go there and we're going to turn them over. And that will confirm Arsenal in the top 3. And we'll play out the rest of the season with Chelsea fighting for, Champions League football with Tottenham. Brilliant.
I think you need Liverpool to do you a big favour tomorrow, actually.
I do, but I just feel that Son is going to be on form tomorrow.
So you think he'll be on form tomorrow and not on Thursday?
Well, I think we can close him out.
Fair enough.
Mind you, we haven't got as good a defense as Liverpool. But I just think that Harry Kane ball into Son over the top.
I'd agree with you that will be dangerous.
It's going to do the damage tomorrow. So exciting game. I'm really looking forward to it.
Everybody forgets about Van Dijk and his pace, man. Like they focus so much on his height and his power and his strength. Everybody forgets about his pace, man. His pace is the scariest, actually, in my personal opinion. Obviously, as a sprinter, I'd be a bit biased, but his pace is ridiculous.
The fact that someone so big can just move like that is
my goodness,
crazy.
So there are a couple of teams that we got to, from a fantasy point of view, this is really key, because there are a couple of teams that are going for quite a few games this week.
Yeah.
Who you keep your eyes on, Imran? Give us the tips.
Well, I think it's easy to look at Liverpool in terms of FPL high scoring games. I think Liverpool will never go a game without scoring. So the fact that they're playing Spurs and I think it's Villa we play early because we've got the FA Cup final coming up. Yeah, it's there in the middle. I think we can knock them for a few, and I think that'll be a good place for Salah to secure his golden boot. I think Spurs actually have the tough fixtures. They've got 2 top 5 teams in Liverpool and Arsenal. So you never know. They could have, if they have 2 poor performances, they could get turned over twice in the space of a week, which could surprise a few, especially when you look at the fact that Wayne has 3 Spurs players. That could be key, actually, a key battle. And I think some of the other games like Man City, Newcastle will just be standard wins, unless that Real Madrid loss has rattled Man City.
I think that's a very weird one, you know. And I just feel those players look so emotionally drained at the end of that game the other night.
I don't blame them, honestly.
And I just felt as though, man, and then of course people are now saying that Pep can't win the Champions League with City, you know, and all this stuff. But they just look as though, man, it was such a weight for them. How is he going to pick them up this weekend? So let's see what happens.
It's interesting because, like, I'm going to admit this. I'm not going to tell you who I've captained or who I've brought in, but for the first time in what I think is either my 6th or 7th season, I've actually taken a point hit this week. I know Imran loves to take point hits, man, but somehow it works every week. I don't have the heart to risk it, but I have risked it this week.
Okay.
So I really hope it you know. Otherwise, I'm going to be seeing another Mount situation where I just come out with 0 captain.
Well, I look forward to talking about that next time we get together. Look, the bottom half is going to be key. Burnley and Everton and Leeds. So, you know, whoever they're playing with Burnley at home to Villa and Leeds at home to Chelsea, as we spoke of earlier.
They've got Leicester away.
And Everton have got Leicester away, and then they've got Watford away. So, you know, these are big games at the bottom. But you feel
both Leicester and West Ham have been knocked out of Europe now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Leicester haven't been playing quite well either. Something has gone quite
they only
wrong.
have Europe to cling on to be honest.
Yeah, their season kind of tapered off very, very early this season. So it's going to be interesting to see how they turn up against Everton and whether Everton takes anything away from the last win that they had there against the mighty Kings of London that they like to call themselves. But anyway, we'll see about that. Look, we finished with the table. City ahead by a point. Go on, Carl.
It's
Say
a 6-pointer.
It's a
6-pointer for Chelsea. Like, seriously, I am nervous for this game. Like, probably as nervous as you are, to be honest. Like, probably if not more, to be perfectly honest. Because, like, I was saying to Chris, like, I can't even hope for a draw because that just makes it even worse. Like, if you assume Chelsea win our next game, then if Arsenal win, then they stay that 3 points behind us, and if Spurs win, they stay that point behind us as well. But if we lose, then we could potentially finish 5th. So it's like,
that's it.
It's terrifying.
I mean, you've got the goal difference, so you know it's all about winning and losing now. You know,
it really is. As a Chelsea fan, I'm quite fortunate to not really have to worry about the goal difference. Plus, Mendy in goal, as I've said this in several shows, he saves us quite a lot. But yeah.
So if you had to make a call for, you know, the 17th, 18th, you know, the last one to drop into that line, where do you think that's going to be in 2 weeks' time? When we go into the final game of the season?
I think looking at the fixtures and taking that into account, I honestly think Leeds will be the one to drop now. I think they've got Chelsea and Arsenal, is it, to play still? And I can't see them getting those wins. Whereas Everton have got favourable fixtures such as Watford, which I think they definitely can get a win, and even Leicester this weekend. And I think Burnley have done enough. I think they're on good enough form.
Nice fixtures as well, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Compared to Leeds, I think Leeds with the fixture list that they've got, I just can't see them getting themselves out of it.
But not only that, I think the Bielsa effect with that goal difference is what is potentially going to hurt.
Of course, yeah. Minus 34 is big. Yeah,
they've got the worst of the 3 down there, and that is the thing that is going to really bring itself to bear on them, though, depending on whether games are drawn or won. So you've sadly, you know, I would hate to see them go because I do love Leeds. But, you know, they play an expansive style of football that perhaps was not needed this season.
Come back to bite them.
Indeed. Listen, that has been the football show with me, Imran, and Kyle. Leave us a comment. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with us today as we talk all things football. This is what we do. We love the Premier League and we love our fantasy league. So we hope you will join us on the next one when we'll be doing the last show of the season for Game Week 38 in a couple of weeks' time. So thank you for watching and we will see you on the next one.
Bye.